Hey guys, Pink Plastic Computers here, and I wanted to put together a video which is going to help so many people. Now, we obviously supply a lot of gaming PCs here in the UK, and generally, got to be honest, touch wood, everything goes absolutely perfect. In fact, from a hardware perspective, I would say we've had one failure in the last 12 months, so I'm pretty proud of that. However, it doesn't mean that we don't get support calls or problems, and I can tell you now, first-hand experience, they are nearly always driver and game related. But when we do a remote support session to make sure it is driver and game related, one of the first things we do is to check the system out to make sure from a hardware perspective, everything is running the way that it should be. Now, this video is going to be really, really helpful for anyone who's experiencing game crashing, lagging, blue screens, all sorts of that kind of behavior, which can be really frustrating. And so many people quite often will be like, oh, my computer's just broken. It's just dead. And that's not a PC from us. That's just a PC in general. But quite often it isn't that. Quite often it is just driver and software related. So I'm going to put together this video. It's going to be quite long. I'll try and break it up into sections, talking you through different things that I would recommend that you do if you are experiencing crashes. Now, one of the first things that I personally check is I actually check the event viewer of Windows. And this is something that many people won't have seen in the past, but it is incredibly helpful. If you come down here into your Windows bar, and if you type in event viewer, okay, it's that simple, event viewer, and it'll load up this screen. I'll make this full screen. And what you want to do within this is you want to go to Windows logs, top left, okay. Then you want to go to System. And this will bring up every single log around the system, and you're going to see warnings and all sorts. So what you actually want to do is you're looking for a few key things here. You're looking for critical errors. So on the right-hand side, what you can do is you can actually filter this log. So if you click Filter Current Log, and then you want to filter on Critical and Error. Okay, Critical and Error. Click OK. And what this will do is it will present anything that's coming through on the system which could potentially be causing issues. And you can see here, I mean, my system runs great. I've been doing lots of stuff today in terms of sorting out internet connection, which, believe it or not, can also cause game crashes. But what you're looking for in here, and the main thing you're looking for, is anything relating to power. So if you see the word kernel or event ID 41, then that does point towards power. I don't have anything like that. Okay, I'm perfectly fine. These are mainly Windows update agents and stuff like that. I'm not concerned about that at all. However, if you see anything that says kernel power, event ID 41, anything along those lines, that will actually give you an indicator of what one of your main problems could be, and it could be power. You'll see loads of ones regarding TPM and stuff like that. Do not worry about those. What you want to look at is power. If you do see something regarding power, then that could be a key thing. So, for example, and we'll talk about power and mainly graphics cards. So every PC that we build, we always over-egg the power supply. So if the system at a bare minimum needs a 500 watt power supply, we will probably fit a 600 or a 650. And the reason why we do that is I personally believe that it's better to have a PSU with extra power available, because you really want to run, at the absolute worst case, an 80-20 rule. So if you had a 1000 watt power supply, you absolutely do not want your system running over 800 watts, in my opinion. So therefore, I think it's always nice to have that nice buffer. The other reason why we always give people more powerful power supplies, they don't cost us a huge amount of money at the point of building them, extra over the model below, but also it means if you were to change your graphics card, which is the key component that people do like to change, if you go for something a bit more powerful, then it means you can hopefully just change it and you don't have to take your power supply out and undo all the cable management. Now, back to power. I don't have any errors, which is great, but you may have a critical error, okay, that says power. And if you do, it's almost certainly going to be the fact that your power supply cannot cope with the power that is being drawn from it during gaming. And that will be mainly down to your GPU, because that is the component that uses the most power. Your CPU also will be pulling a lot of power, or its most power, when it's in intensive gaming sessions, particularly if you're streaming at the same time. So if it's the best thing to do is really kind of focus your energy on the graphics card. So there's a couple of quick wins here. If you've got a high-end graphics card or a high-powered graphics card, anything from, say, like a 3070, 3080 upwards, and AMD cards, if you have a graphics card that takes two 8-pin power supplies, if you've got them daisy-chained where you've got a singular cable going into it, chances are you're probably better off running two separate cables if you have two separate cables coming from your power supply. The other thing that's worth noting, and this is particularly for people that have bought PCs not from us, is look at the quality of your power supply. There's so many manufacturers out there, and there's some really well-known ones like Corsair, Cooler Master, Gigabyte, all sorts. There's so many, but there's also some brands that you won't have heard of. But one of the key things to check out is the power supply rating. Does it have an 80 plus sticker on it? 80 plus bronze, silver, gold, or platinum? If it doesn't, that's actually an alarm bell if you've got a dedicated GPU, because there are many power supplies out there that will say they're 650 watts, 750 watts, but if they don't have that power supply rating on them, I wouldn't trust them to steadily deliver that power, in which case your power supply would be my number one culprit if you're seeing this in there. So check your power supply, check your system, and see what your total rating of your graphics card and your CPU are, and make sure there's a balance there. If it's come from us, there will be. If it's one that you've already got, or a pre-build, or you've upgraded a graphics card, something that you really, really need to focus on. So go into this, check your event viewer. If you're unsure, one of the key things I would definitely suggest doing, and it sounds really random, take a screenshot and put it into your favorite AI engine. Put it into ChatGPT, Copilot, and it will very, very quickly point out any key errors. But the key ones are kernel power and anything relating to that. If you have them, before you do anything regarding graphics drivers, etc., you need to investigate what your power supply is versus your graphics card and your CPU, because that could actually be a fault straight away without anything to do with the drivers. So that's my top tip. Number one is check the event log and look for power problems. Tip number two, graphics drivers. Okay, this is nearly always the reason why things are going wrong. Okay, if you've recently changed your graphics card and you didn't uninstall your previous graphics card, or you don't know this is the problem, manufacturers like NVIDIA and AMD constantly upgrade your graphics card and your graphics card drivers. And if you open up NVIDIA app, I currently use an NVIDIA system, so I'm using an RTX 5070, and the NVIDIA app is a really great application. NVIDIA app's a really good app. It is a really good app, and it's nice and easy laid out. If you click on drivers, it'll load up, and it will tell you if there is a new version. Now, there is a new version for my particular PC. So all you do, go to drivers. If there is a new version, it will tell you. Click on download. It will download the latest version of the app. NVIDIA drivers are nearly always about 700 megabytes. It's a very, very similar process on the AMD Adrenalin process, so which is obviously for AMD cards, and it's also very similar for Intel cards. Ironically, Intel B series cards, since they've been updated, have actually been the least troublesome. I do find that NVIDIA can actually be really difficult. And this isn't because the drivers are bad. This is because sometimes drivers can come out before games and stuff have maybe patched themselves to work with that particular driver. It may even be a case that you're playing an older game, but you have a newer end hardware, and that could cause conflicts. So my first thing I would say is check and update your driver, because the other way it works around is there might be a driver update that is aware of the problem in the game that you are playing, and it may fix the issue. So if you're playing a mainstream AAA title or an esports title like Fortnite or Minecraft or something like that, download and update your drivers. I'm going to download mine now, and I'm going to update. Okay, so once your drivers have finished downloading, and mine are going to be done in 50 seconds, you actually have two ways of installing them. You can either do a normal update, which honestly, if you're not having system problems, is just the way to go. However, if you are experiencing game crashes and freezes, obviously this is an NVIDIA driver here, I would actually suggest the other option, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Come on, broadband, let's hurry up and download, and let's see how we get on. So we've got 10 meg to come down, and I'm going to show you the two options, assuming that NVIDIA haven't changed this installation screen in the last 48 hours since I last updated a graphics card. Let's have a quick look. So it will go preparing package, and then it will let you can click on install. You have to click yes to this. These are the two options. Express installation is ideal if your system is just working fine and you just want to update. However, if your system is crashing, you want to go to custom installation, and then you can choose what elements you want to install. I would have all three, but most importantly, you can click on clean installation. So if you are having crashes, custom installation, have everything ticked, click on clean installation and follow that installation guide. I'm not going to do that now. There's nothing wrong with my drivers. I'm just going to do a normal installation. But if you are having crashes, custom installation on a driver update, clean installation. So tip number one, check the Windows log, check for power defaults and power problems. If you do have them, it's going to point towards the way that your graphics card is wired, or the wattage of your power supply isn't potentially sufficient enough for your graphics card. If that isn't the problem, do a driver update, do a custom installation and a clean installation, and follow that guide. Okay, part number 3 of this guide is to stress test your system. So if you've identified that you don't believe it's your power supply, you've updated your drivers for your graphics card, but you're still getting crashes, we need to try and identify what are causing those crashes. Is it a CPU fault? Is it a graphics card fault? Is it the power fault? And the best bit of software that I have found for this is OCCT, which is a completely free of charge application. There will be a link in this video and on our social media channels. Go to the main link. You want to download OCCT for Windows, default skin. You understand the terms and conditions and click on download. Okay, guys, so once OCCT, I hate saying that for some reason, has downloaded and installed, you're going to want to run some tests, okay? And this is OCCT, and I'll make it full screen. And the key ones you want to do, and I would do them in this order, I would do the CPU test first, because one of the key things that can be causing system instability and crashing might not be power, but what it could be is temperatures. Because obviously when you're on large gaming sessions and when you're streaming in particular, because that's even more demanding on the system, is CPUs are being pushed to the limit, which means they're generating more heat because they're using more power. And if you don't have adequate cooling or adequate airflow in your system, that too can create system crashes, particularly with spikes and traffic that happen within gaming and streaming. It can cause the system to completely freeze, blue screen, or even just turn off. So the first thing you want to do is you want to test your CPU. Really easy interface on OCCT. If you click on CPU, you've got different modes, different loads, and cycles, etc. Let's keep this nice and simple, okay? And I'm going to talk you through the exact settings that I would do. So when I'm doing a test, what I do is I check a CPU test, particularly if you're having crashes, is I change the mode to extreme. I change the load type to steady, okay, because you don't have unrealistic spikes in here. And then what I want to do is in terms of thread settings, it's on auto at the moment. I would leave that as auto. So you want to go extreme, steady, auto, okay. Duration, now duration's at the top here. By default, it tries to set them all as 1 hour. I would actually run this for 15 minutes. Okay, so put the one on the right to 15, take that down. That is now set for a CPU test of 15 minutes. And you can see my particular system, I'm rocking a Ryzen 5 7600X. I've got 32 gig of DDR5 and I have an RTX 5070. Now, if I click start on this, and bear in mind I am doing a system recording at the same time, so I won't run the whole test on this stress test, obviously, but all you literally do is click start. It'll pop up with this message. You have to wait for this second timer to go down, unless, of course, you want to become a supporter via their Patreon and donate some money. It's entirely up to you. And then just click start. And that is literally it. And it will load up the benchmark. Okay, and we are benchmarking the CPU. And you can instantly see that the power usage has shot up. It's gone to the maximum 145 watts TDP of the 7600X. It's telling us the voltage that it's running at and how much the usage is and the clock speed. It's gone straight to 100%. And it's going to hammer this CPU for 15 minutes. So when you're running the test, I've been running the test now for, it will tell me actually, just under 2 minutes. In fact, just over 2 minutes over here on the right-hand side. You are keeping a close eye on everything. Now, my CPU temp is hovering around 91 degrees, which is very, very hot. But it's not a problem because what's the Ryzen 5 7600X, the CPU that I have, it will thermal throttle at 95, okay? Now, I'm not saying you want your CPU to run at 90 degrees. You absolutely don't, okay? That would be very, very, very hot. However, this test is designed extreme levels of testing. We're testing the power delivery, we're testing all the core temperatures, and we are looking for any errors. And it's a really clear layout on the right-hand side. We want to see if we've got any errors running. I would sit back and leave your PC running for 15 minutes. If it doesn't make it to the end of the system test, if it crashes, if it freezes, if it powers down, that absolutely points to a temperature or a cooling issue. You've already identified if there's no power issues in the Windows log, then it's almost certainly a temperature issue. And therefore what's happening is your system is literally turning itself off or bottlenecking itself or throttling performance to save the CPU from cooking itself. Your GPU and things won't really increase in temperature during this test because ultimately they're not being utilized. However, obviously the temperature of your internals of your PC may increase slightly depending on the cooler that you have. If you've got an AIO, most of that heat is being chucked out of the PC. If you've got a tower cooler, there's going to be more warm air inside the PC, so your fans are designed to extract them. And that's another thing that you can look at. If you are getting extremely high temperatures, you may want to look at your fan curves on your GPU and also your case fans and your CPU fan as well. But run this test. If you don't get any crashes on the CPU, that is fantastic news. If it stays as it is, and if you don't know what the maximum temperature of your CPU is, give it a quick Google or find out what it is. As long as you are there or below for a 15-minute extreme test, you should be okay. Okay, so let's say you've done the CPU test and it was fine. System didn't crash. We've now ruled that out. And that's a key thing, okay? Because when you're doing testing PCs to try and identify a fault, one of the worst things you can do is just try and fix 10 things at once because then you don't know what worked if you did fix it, okay? So it's best to do things one at a time, which is why I went power, which is why I went drivers, and now why I am we are testing the system to see if there is anything to do with temperatures and power delivery on this. So CPU's fine. The next one you want to do is going to be VRAM, okay? No, not VRAM, sorry. 3D adaptive. And on 3D adaptive, these are the settings I would recommend. You want to keep it on discrete GPUs, okay? Because that will be your dedicated graphics card, assuming that you have one. Keep it on steady and then keep it on extreme, okay? You can go for heavy or light, but I go for extreme. And then run another 15-minute test. Click start. It will come up with a loading screen again. Once that timer has gone down, click on the start button. I'd like to add, we are not at all linked with OCCT. I just think it's a fantastic bit of software. So kudos to these guys, and I have actually been a supporter of them. Click start, and this time it's going to look just like the CPU test, but it's going to hammer our graphics card. And this is probably the key one for most people that are having crashes. So I am running an RTX 5070, and we are going to check to see what our power and our deliveries go to. When you're running this test, there's a few key things that are going to happen. Number one, you're going to be pushing your graphics card to its absolute max like we did with the CPU. So the temperature is going to shoot up Now, I'm currently sitting under 77 degrees centigrade. I am more than happy at that temperature. I'm looking for no errors detected, and I'm looking at the power delivery. Okay. If this voltage drops all of a sudden, that is a power delivery issue. If the system crashes, it's a power delivery issue. This is also going to give you a really good idea about coil whine on your fans. If you've got an older graphics card, if you've never cleaned those fans out, and it's not under warranty, for example, you may have a huge dust buildup in your fans. And these are about being pushed to 100%. Listen out to see how the fans sound. And if they are making some crazy noises or there's coil whine, you may actually have a huge amount of dust within your graphics card. But let this run. Again, if the system crashes now, you know it's pointed towards your GPU. And if it's really, really high temperatures, the cooling isn't sufficient, your fans may be full of dust and dirt, or the way that you have your fans set up in your PC isn't bringing enough air in and also extracting hot air quick enough, in which case you need to probably speak to us to find out what your fan layout is. Okay, so run this test. If it doesn't crash and you get no errors, then it's not your CPU, it's not your GPU, and we've got one final stress test to run. Okay, so you made it this far. The final thing to run is your power stress test. Now, you do not want to run this for any longer than 10 minutes. So the first thing you want to do is you want to change this to 10 minutes maximum. You don't even have to run it that long if you don't want to. Click on power, keep it on discrete GPUs, instruction set, change this to AVX2. And we want to push the system as hard as we can, and that's why we change it to AVX2. And then what you want to do is you want to click start. Okay, it will do the loading screen once more. Wait that 10 seconds and then click on the start button. This is going to hammer your system, okay? Which is why I don't want to run it for any more than 10 minutes. In fact, 5 minutes is absolutely fine. If you've got a power delivery problem, this will find it pretty damn quick. Click on start, and this is going to push every component in your system. And you can see straight away the Ryzen 5 7600 has suddenly shot up to 140 watts, which is the maximum. But at the same time, we're also doing 250 watts on the 5070. And this is where we are simulating effectively a really tough gaming session. You're running a AAA title, you're streaming, you might have mods loaded, you might have Discord, you may have all sorts running. You are pushing your system to the max, but most importantly, you're pushing your power supply to the max. Your devices are drawing as much power as they can from your power supply. And if your power supply isn't sufficient enough, this is a big one. This could cause crashes and all sorts. Run this for a maximum of 10 minutes. If you experience a crash on this, it's your power supply, almost certainly. It means that your power supply cannot cope with the voltage spikes and the wattage being drawn from it when you are hammering both your CPU and your GPU. Also, bear in mind, when you're hammering both of those, all your fans are also probably running at 100%. So you are literally drawing as much power as you possibly can. And if you get crashes during this, your power supply probably isn't sufficient enough, or it's not coping well enough with the power delivery. So, tip number 1, check the logs with Windows. Tip number 2, update your graphics drivers. Tip number 3, run some stress tests on OCCT, running graphics card, CPU, and power. Okay, guys, tip number 4. This is about verifying game files. So if you've done all the previous 3 tips, you've then jumped in the game, whatever game it might be, and you're still getting crashes, okay? The next thing, if you've made it through all of them and you haven't had system crashes, you haven't got power problems, you've updated the drivers, this is now pointing towards the software itself, the application, i.e. the game. And depending on what launch you're using, whether you're using Epic Games Launcher, whether you're using Steam, or whether you're using Xbox, the process is always very, very similar. So, for example, if I launch up the Xbox app, I only have a few games installed on this at the moment because mainly I'm playing on Call of Duty. You go to My Library, you find the game that you're having issues with, click on it, click on the 3 dots, go to Manage, then go to Files, and click on Verify and Repair. Okay, verify and repair. That's what you want to do. You want to verify and repair. It can take some time. Okay, you may lose some of your settings. It may go back to original factory defaults. But if your game is crashing and driving you crazy, it's kind of worth that. So if you can get into your game, first of all, make sure that you have noted down any of your custom settings so you don't lose them, just in case it does fully reset the game. I'm not going to verify this because it is working fine on my PC. If it's on Steam and you want to verify a game on Steam, load up Steam, go to your library, okay, find the game, right click on it and your library, click on, where is it? You want to go to properties, properties, and then you want to go to installed files, and then you want to click on verify integrity of game files, and it will do exactly the same. I would quickly do it on Crysis 3 Remastered. Bit of a running joke in the PC industry. It used to be a thing. Will it run Crysis 3? Do that and then test again. Okay, so that is how you verify on this. I would like to show you how to verify also on Epic Games. However, my broadband is incredibly slow and I'm not a Fortnite player. But you're very similar. You'd go to your library, you click on the three dots, and then in here will be an option where you can verify game files. Okay, let's just click apply on that. But I don't have it because the game, as you can see, is currently installing. So verify game files, then do it again. Play the game. If it's still crashing, then we need to go on to tip number 4. Number 5, actually. Number 5. What am I talking about? Number 5. And tip number 5 is disabling overlays. This can cause so many crashes on your system. You will not believe it. And there's some big culprits. Xbox, NVIDIA, GeForce Experience, and Discord overlay. And I'm going to talk you through now how to disable them, because if they're driving you crazy and causing your game to crash, I'd much rather play the game than have random pop-ups coming up. So I'm going to talk you through each one. Okay, so the first one we're going to make sure that is off is going to be the Xbox game bar. Okay, so click in the Start menu, your little Windows icon, and click on Settings. Once you're in Settings, go to Gaming. You'll see Game Bar is at the top. Click on Game Bar. And at the moment, both are on. Okay, you can see both are on. If you want to turn them off, simply just untick those two. Okay. Now, what I would also suggest is once you have unticked those, it is worth restarting your system. So that's how easy it is to turn off Game Bar. Okay. The next one is going to be Discord. Discord is also really easy. So if you've got Discord running, it'll be in your system tray down here. Just click on the little up arrow, find Discord, open Discord, and click on the cog user settings next to your profile name. Once you've done that, scroll all the way down until you see Game Overlay. Click on Game Overlay, and you can turn it off here. Very similar to the Xbox Game Bar. You can give them some feedback if you'd like. And exactly the same. I would recommend if you're turning that off, close it off and restart your system. And the final one is the NVIDIA app. Load up NVIDIA app. Showed it earlier to do driver updates. Go to Settings. And once you're in Settings, you are looking for Overlay. And it's right at the top. You can see these are very similar, all of these. And you can toggle that on or toggle it off. Turn that off. And again, restart your system. Once you've done that, all your overlays are now off. Try and play the game that is causing the crashes once more and see how it behaves. That is tip number 5, which is turning off in-game overlays. Tip number 7, no, number 6, I'm getting my numbers wrong, is all about working out your background apps and RAM usage, because, and this is really big for streamers, because things like TikTok Live Studio absolutely hammers system resources. But you'll also be surprised about what other applications are running that you might not even know, which are also taking up system resources, and they can cause game stutters, potentially even crashes. And I'm going to tell you the easiest way to find out what process you got running and how to close them. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to bring up Task Manager to this, and there's a few ways you can do it. The easiest way is press Control, Shift, and Escape on your keyboard. Task Manager will open, or you can right-click on the Windows icon, and you can also click on Task Manager this way as well. And this will load up everything that's running, and you can see they're all loading up now. We've got a fair few apps running. So I've actually got on my system right now Discord. You can see how much memory it's using. If you've not got a lot of RAM in your machine, if you've got 8 gig or maybe even 16, do keep a close eye on this. Steam client 583 meg, Xbox 400 meg using 1.5 in just those three. But the biggest one is Chrome. Chrome absolutely loves to save things in memory. And what you want to do is you want to right click and you want to end the task before you game. Obviously, if you want the task open, then don't right click and close it, but just have a good look through and be surprised and shocked about how much stuff is running on your system before you go into gaming. I've got 56% of my memory is being used right now, and I'm not even running a game. So it's really key to keep a close eye on what's running before you start gaming. And that, my friends, is going to be tip number 7. We're now going to move on to tip number 8. Tell a lie, I really can't get these number system right, can I? This was tip number 6, I believe. We're now moving on to tip number 7, which is all about the graphic mode within the game. Now, this is really aimed for Fortnite players. This is not aimed for pretty much anyone else. However, it's very important, the settings in-game as well, no matter what game you're playing. But for Fortnite, this is a real key one, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Unfortunately, I still haven't managed to download the game, but the key thing is this, and I'm going to show you some screenshots of what I mean. And this is it, guys. So when you load up Fortnite, by default, Fortnite will automatically tune the game for what it believes are the best settings for your PC. However, if you're experiencing crashing and things, clearly what it's done is it hasn't got it right. So there's a couple of things I definitely recommend doing. So this is a screenshot of some settings on Fortnite, and you can see this user has set it on windowed full screen. That's a really, really popular mode for people to have it on, particularly if they're streaming or using other applications, because it allows them to click into other apps without having to close the game. Doesn't make a big difference. If you want to have it on windowed full screen, have it on Windows full screen. Make sure the resolution that you pick is the resolution of your monitor, the native resolution. So if you're 1080p, it'll be 1920 by 1080. If you're 1440p, it'll be 2560 by 1440, and so on. Frame rate. Now, this is a massive one. I know for a fact from speaking to customers and people who are after our support, even if they're not customers, which is very common, is people are obsessed with frames per second, how many frames that they are showing within game. And therefore, the temptation there can be to set the frame limit as unlimited. I actually wouldn't do that. I really wouldn't do that, because you're effectively saying to the game, I want to generate as many frames as I possibly can at all times. That can cause spikes, all sorts. What you actually want to do is you want to find out the refresh rate, the maximum refresh rate of your screen. So if you've got 165 hertz, if you've got 200 hertz, etc. And the easiest way to do that is the following. If you go into Windows, type in Display, and you can see here I've got 3 monitors, and they are all different refresh rates, okay? These 2 monitors are identical. This is just a little third screen that I have my company WhatsApp and support and things always on. If I pick my main screen, which is this middle one, and if I go to Advanced Display, you can see here what my refresh rate is. And the maximum refresh rate of my screen is 200 hertz. Okay, so I have my screen set at 200 hertz because it's the maximum refresh rate. So see what the maximum refresh rate in Windows you can have. And let's say it's 144 or 200 like mine, or whatever it might be. Set it as that. Then go back to your game. And if I was you, I would set your frame rate limit to either be that number or maybe at maximum 10% higher. And I know inside you might die a little bit because you're like, oh, I want to get 300 frames per second. It's totally irrelevant, guys, because if you've only got a refresh rate of 200, you can't physically see above 200 frames per second. So set it at 200 if you've got a 200 hertz refresh rate like me, or maybe if you really want to, set it slightly higher. okay? But don't go unlimited. It's a completely pointless exercise. It's just for gloating, I suppose, and flexing how many FPS your PC can run. But you don't need it, and bear in mind, the whole point of this video is you want to try and get your game running stably and not crashing. The key one on Fortnite is this, rendering mode. You now have DirectX 12. This is an old screenshot. You have DirectX 12, DirectX 11, performance mode, and performance mode legacy from memory. You've probably got it on DirectX 12. Nothing wrong with that. The game is running in DirectX 12. Graphically, it will look really, really pretty. But what I would do is I would change this rendering mode to performance mode. Not performance mode legacy, performance mode. Once you apply that, the game will want to restart. Try that. It will make a massive difference. The game will still look fantastic. You can still adjust the 3D resolution. You can still adjust your view distance, etc. And it will still look better than it does on a console. Try that and then play your game. And honestly, you will be surprised how many times that will fix the fault. That is tip number 7. Not number 6, number 7. I keep getting these number systems wrong. But anyway, it's definitely number 7. Switch to performance mode and also set your frame rate to match your monitor or as close to your monitor as you can. What we'll actually do is we'll make this one tip number 7 and 8 because 7 is setting the refresh rate and 8 is putting yourself into performance mode. We're now going to move on to tip number 9. Now, tip number 9 is a big one. It's all to do with shader cache, okay? And there's quite a few things to it. You want to play a first few games and see if you're still getting stuttering. If you are, and you are running an NVIDIA graphics card, this is what you want to do. So in the bottom right-hand corner, you may have NVIDIA settings showing. In fact, you almost certainly have. Click and open that. It'll bring up the NVIDIA app. But you don't actually want to go to that. What you want to do is you want to go to the NVIDIA control panel. So the easiest thing to do there is type in control panel. You're not going to control panel. You're going to NVIDIA control panel. And load this up. Okay. Once you're loaded, you may have never, ever seen this before. But ultimately, with this program, you can actually set different 3D settings depending on the game or at a system level. You want to make sure you highlight Manage 3D Settings, okay? And the things you're looking here are to do with shader cache size. So if you scroll down, it is in alphabetical order, and you can see here shader cache size, driver default. Try changing that to unlimited, okay? Once you've done that, click on Apply. And what this does is it lets your system store shaders so it doesn't have to rebuild them every time, which can be really, really annoying. Obviously, you've got to have the relevant storage and things, but that is something that I would do. If its stutter still doesn't go away, another thing you can do now is to clear the shader cache. And that is going to be the next step. So let's show you how you clear the shader cache. Okay, so next step is to clear the shader cache. And what you want to do here is you want to press the Windows key. Okay, and you want to type in disk cleanup. And it will say which drive you want to clean. Now, for me, my games are on the C drive. Click on OK. It's now going to load up this, which is the disk cleanup. Okay, and what you're looking for is the DirectX shader cache. This one here. Click on that. And then click on OK. And it will delete those files. And it'll run for a delete. It may take a little while. But once it's done that, this should fix your stutters. And it will start to rebuild the shaders because it's cleared the old ones. It's now going to start rebuilding the new one. So I think, hopefully, one of these tips has got you to the situation that you're working. If it hasn't, we've got 2-3 final things to try, okay? And I'm going to run through those final things now. Okay, guys. These last 3 final fixes are the last resort options, okay? This is if you've done everything else in my video and you're still getting crashes. So you've verified, you think the power delivery is fine, everything's fine, you're still getting crashes. What you want to do is you want to head over to our website. On the left-hand side, there is the burger menu. You want to click on Guides and Community. And then when you're in Guides and Community, click on the Parsnip Vault. When you get into the Parsnip Vault, you want to download a certain program. You could just Google this. DDU, Display Driver Uninstaller. Okay, it will download. It's the easiest place. You put it on there. It's the latest version, and it will download DDU. Once you've downloaded DDU, you will find this. Okay, and the easiest thing to do is just create a desktop folder, call it DDU. Okay, and you want to export all of these to that desktop folder. So find your download, right click, extract all. Tell it where you want to extract to. On my example, I want to stick it on my desktop. I want to put it in DDU. Select folder, extract. Okay. That'll extract everything to do with DDU into that folder. Double click on the DDU. And what you're after is this. The DDU extract. For some reason, that didn't extract. But there we go. Eventually, you want to get this, okay, which is DDU version 18.1.50. Okay, open that up. And then you're hit with this, can't even talk, Display Driver Uninstaller. Double click on Display Driver Uninstaller, click on Yes, and it'll come up with this warning saying you're not in safe mode. That's okay. Click OK. Do not change any of these options. Click Close. And what you want to do is you want to choose what you want to uninstall. Now, this is a proper last resort, guys. What this is going to do is it is going to completely uninstall everything relating to your graphics card. So if your drivers are corrupt or anything like that, it's going to do that. You want to choose your device, pick GPU, pick the manufacturer of your GPU. In my case, it would be NVIDIA, and click this button here. I am not going to do that. My system is absolutely fine, but make sure that you've got GPU, NVIDIA, or AMD, and then the next thing you want to do is this. Clean and restart your machine. Click on highly recommended, clean and restart. Click that. It will uninstall everything related to NVIDIA. It will then restart the machine. And chances are, when that happens, you will be hit with a really poor looking resolution. And then you need to download the latest version of the graphics card drivers from NVIDIA. And that will do a clean install. That is how you run DDU. People talk about DDU all the time. That is how you do it. It's nice and easy. But this is one of those last chance things to try. Try that next. If that still doesn't work, you've got two more fixes. Okay, and these are really last chance. The first one, uninstall the game. Uninstall the game, delete all of its game files, and re-download and reinstall the game. You'll be shocked at how many times that works. And then the final fix, and I absolutely hate to tell people this, is to do a fresh install of Windows. And that really is if you've tried everything else in the guide. If you've got all this way far and you're still getting loads of crashes, you're adamant that you haven't got power faults, nothing like that, it's a fresh install of Windows. And if that doesn't work, then I'm sorry, guys. I am just completely perplexed. In fact, if that doesn't work, there are some other things you could try, which is trying to find, if you've got an older graphics card, is trying to find a graphics card driver, which is pre-NVIDIA app, and picking a stable version driver for your PC. But I hope this guide helps, and I hope some of these tips definitely do make a difference on your particular game, whether it be at Fortnite or something else. We honestly do our very best to give as best support that we can, but the reason why we did them in this order is to first of all identify if it's a hardware fault. If it's not a hardware fault, it's a driver fault. If you've gone through that, you've verified game files, you've updated graphics drivers, and you've reinstalled Windows, then it's something even more challenging, and you kind of have to dive even deeper, and you have really got something going on. And it could even be, in that case, something to do with an XMP profile on your memory, or it could be a case of trying to find a graphics driver which is an older version that is more stable. If you've got like a GTX 1070 or a 1080 or an RTX 2060 or an older gen card, in which case we will try and offer even more help if we can. But I hope this guide video helps, guys. I know I've rambled on. I know it's a long video. I've broken it into chapters, and I even forgot the numbers of the chapters myself. But yeah, if you don't know who we are, we're Pink Plastic Computers. We build custom gaming rigs in the UK. We've been doing it well over a year now. We absolutely love it. Check out the links in the bio. Ping us a message. Follow us on Discord if you're not. We're building a community there, and everybody is so lovely. And follow us on our social medias as well. TikTok is great. We do a lot of live builds. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in our next video.